All right, we're going to continue with our media availabilities here at Dover. We are now joined by Tyler Reddick, driver of the number 2 Freightliner Chevrolet, who will race in tomorrow's NASCAR Xfinity Series race, the Use Your Melon Drive Sober 200. And it's been a pretty big week here for Tyler. Richard Childress Racing also announced that Tyler will be moving up to the Cup Series in 2020 in the number 8 Caterpillar Chevrolet. We will open it up to questions for Tyler. Please raise your hand and we'll get a wireless microphone to you. Start right there. Go ahead.
Tim Kettlefeld with WRSU Sports. Tyler, I know that moving from the Xfinity Series to the Cup Series is a big jump for you, but my question is, do you personally feel at this point in your career, are you ready to make that jump with all the experience that you have in the Xfinity Series?
The more starts you make, the more confident you will grow. Whether that's running very consistently on the Xfinity side or whenever in this past year, I've been able to jump in and go toe-to-toe with the Cup drivers. Obviously, Daytona is in itself much different than the majority of the races that they run throughout the year. The intensity is very high, and you're out there with a lot of really good plate racers. I feel like in the Xfinity and Truck Series, you have, maybe 5-6 people that really understand it and know how to make the lines work and get to the front of the races. But when you go into the Cup Series for the Daytona 500, you got a lot of drivers that really understand it. So it's kind of hard to really know what you have compared to the field, and you're trying to be smart and hang on to the end. And unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. But to go into Kansas and, we didn't qualify very well, but we kind of went with the race good strategy and be able to battle with those guys toe-to-toe. Felt really good. I know that was one of the cooler races of the year, one of the more, I guess, easier to drive the cars were on the mile and a half all year long. So it's different than, I think, a lot of the challenges they've had to face at the road courses with the heat and how hard it's been to drive at some of these other tracks. But for as well as that went, it gave me a big boost of confidence off of that. But I understand still that that's just one race. There's a lot more races throughout the year that are different than Kansas and during the nighttime. So it's different, but my confidence is definitely higher than it ever has been, and I think it'll just continue to grow as this year ends. And obviously, once we get started, it'll grow with the more starts that I make around those guys. Go to Steve.
Steve Post, Motor Racing Network. When we look at the Xfinity Series and where you're at, these 3 race rounds, and you're fairly comfortable moving on to the next round. Nothing's guaranteed, I get that. But last year you went through the process as well. Is it a 3-race ramp up of energy and then a catch your breath and go 3 more, or is it a continual climb through the entire Xfinity Series playoff run?
I would say this first round had a lot of potential to start very badly or go very badly, and then you put yourself in a kind of a tough position. But we had such a good regular season with, winning the regular season championship and winning 5 races along the way in a few stages that we put ourselves in essentially tied for the second best spot, if you will. So that put us in a really good spot when you're going from 12 to 8. Now, when you go from 8 to 4, that's when it gets a lot more difficult. But our cushion that we've been able to accumulate by being so consistent throughout the regular season is going to come into hand. But we don't really want to rely on it. Last year, we didn't really have anything that really happened good in the regular season for us. We were able to win one stage. We were able to win the first race of the year, and that was pretty much it. So this time last year, we were coming into here in an okay spot, but we really struggled, and we were at times 1-2 points in, 1-2 points out. And that's kind of how the playoffs went for us last year. It was stage by stage. We had to fight for every single spot. And, this round this year, it's a little different. We're in a really good spot. We're 51 up, I believe, at this point. And, minus any penalties in case, like what happened to us at Bristol, we fail tech so many times. You lose points, start a lap down. We're in fairly good shape even with that happening. So just got to be smart, get through the first stage, and hopefully, kind of like Vegas, we get it locked up. We're not worried about it. We're locked in from there, and then we can just go out and attack the race to the best of our ability and try and get ourselves some more playoff points to just make it that much better for the last round.
We're going to stay in that same row and go to Bob.
Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports. Are there any plans to do any Cup races between now and the end of the year?
Not right now. The year's winding down, as everyone knows, and for the best effort possible on everyone's side, whether that's to line the partnership up or to get the cars ready and give it the best effort possible. It's it'd be pretty tough to do something like that this time of the year, and obviously my focus is remaining on the playoffs. So if I was going to do a Cup race. My focus really wouldn't even fully be on that, as crazy as that sounds, because this is the Xfinity Series, and winning a second championship is more important to me than a one-time Cup race, as wild as that does sound. So I'd say that the odds of that happening would be pretty much slim to none, and if it would happen, it would be hard to make it reasonable or really worth the distraction possibly.
I'm going to go to Al in the middle of the room.
Thank you. Yeah, Tyler, Al Pierce from Auto Week. When did the conversation first begin? When did you think that this might happen? How long ago was Richard talking about moving you up? Is it a quick thing, or has it been in the progress for a while?
Well, I think Richard's kind of made it has been pretty open with everyone, whether it's been in here or when he's been asked about it, wanting to get me into the Cup car. He felt like that someone would put me in a Cup car very early on with how well we broke out in the year. Obviously, running good at Kansas helped push that along, whether that was him trying to figure something out for me to run a third car or whatever. And as the year gone on, it would just turn out to being what it ended up being now that everyone sees. But, I think he realized that if, I wasn't going to be able to race with him in the Cup Series, that I would probably be getting picked up by somebody else. And, they really wanted me to stay. So they did what they had to do to make that happen.
Go to Claire.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. I had Jeff Burton on last night on air, and he said Richard Childress Racing needs Tyler Reddick right now. Not maybe a year ago, but for the time right now that you were needed there because of your fire, your spark, and what you lend. Do you know what he's talking about? Not just the racing.
I think just the way this is my aggression on track, and as some drivers have pointed out, I've been fairly lucky this year, and I've had some breaks go my way, and I look like a superhero while doing it, if you will. But that just my aggression level is, I think, what maybe he was pointing at, and it just gets the guys at the shop fired up. Coming in, before my first ever race, a lot of people in the shop were really excited to have me there, really pumped up, saying this is the most excited they've been in a long time to have someone in their Xfinity program coming off a championship, coming in and going for another one. So I think it got the guys in the shop really fired up, having someone that's won a championship come in and going for another one. And I think probably some of my crazy driving is just, exciting and gets people at the shop really, really fired up throughout the week.
He also said that you would spin trying to win, and the team would laugh and you would laugh, and it was so cool that everybody's laughing instead of getting stressed out. Would you do so well with an owner that's like, don't mess my cars up?
I probably wouldn't be a very good listener, honestly, but it's just the way I drive. Last year it didn't work out as much as it has this year in my favor. I drove kind of the same way, hit a few more things along the way, but didn't win as many races. But I waited till Homestead to finally cash in and have the odds kind of go my way when I bounce off the fence and not have a flat. So my driving style's kind of not really changed. But Marie and Randall have been a really good fit this year. So it's just I've been on the better side of it. I've been able at times to pull it back a little bit more, and we've just been able to work really good together.
Steve Post, Motor Racing Network. The challenges of racing here at Dover for you, what have they been? What is it like? The elevation changes. Just what are you facing here today in practice and then tomorrow in the race? What are the things you're conscious of going into a race here at Dover?
Well, we had a really good, really fast Camaro here last time in the spring. We were really fast in practice, and once this track, granted a little bit higher temperatures, once this track kind of rubbered up a little bit, we kind of lost our balance a little bit. We lost some of the speed that we had. We were still a good car. I think we were a 4th, 5th place car. Me and Austin Cindric were joking a little earlier that me and him just were kind of on our own island all day racing each other, and that the 7, the 00, and the 20 were all kind of gone, and everyone else behind us was way behind us. So we want to try and break through and be in that group of the front runners, whether that's the 20 and 00 or the 7. We don't know, obviously, until a little bit later here today, but we're just going to work a little bit more on trying to have a good car for the race, and not necessarily in practice, as the track will just continue to change, and with the weather, how warm it gets, how cool will be, will kind of play a factor into that too. So we're just going to try and do a better job there and have a good race balance.
Thank you.
Do we have anything final for Tyler? Go to Dustin.
Dustin Albino, front judge. I know one of them was Daytona, but what was the biggest thing you learned in the 2 Cup races this year?
It's tough to say. one of the things I really struggled with, which was crazy, is during the duels and during the night race at Kansas, I used to always race under lights in the truck series, but the lit up pit signs and all that stuff was really bright, and I had a tough time seeing my box. That was one of the toughest parts, was actually finding my box. I actually completely missed it in the duel, so wow, I feel like a rookie because my first race here I missed the box in Daytona in the truck series. So just all the bright lights, all the bright pit signs at night racing was tough. Actually, it was just hard to see with all the glare. But other than that, just learning how hard some of the guys race, the give and take at times they do have, though. I think some of them were racing me really hard because they knew it was my second race. But that's just the depth of the field and how hard a lot of those guys are racing to the limit of their car in each spot. It's a lot of fun. You can be racing really hard back in 30th. You can be racing really hard for the lead in the Cup Series. And in the Xfinity Series, I feel like the top 10 has really kind of separated itself, the top 12, from a lot of the rest of the field. So there's just a lot more depth, a lot more people, a lot more drivers to battle with out there, and a lot more going on. And if you do have positions, it's just that much harder to fight back to the front. So it's a lot of fun.
Well, Tyler, thanks for joining us. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.